What's up, everyone? Hope you're having a good day. We got blessed with chapter 1061 of One Piece today. I know I'm late covering it. I had to close at my job tonight, and I did get to read it before work. I just didn't have enough time to sit down and make a video. I'm just going to get straight into it. I'll kind of talk some more after. I know if you're seeing this video, you're probably like, who the hell is this? We'll get to it later. We got One Piece to talk about. So the chapter starts where it ends with Luffy and Chopper popping off the ship. They run into Bonnie and they save Bonnie. And as this is happening, like the rest of the crew on the ship is seeing that Bonnie got saved by Luffy, but then they realize that there's this giant shark beneath them. And I say giant, it is giant. It makes the Sunny look so small. It's like 5 times bigger than the Sunny, if not more than that. It's just crazy how big the shark is. But the shark tries to bite the Sunny. He misses, and it falls off to the side. As the ship is falling, Jinbei sees Luffy and the other 2 devil fruit users fall into the water. So he tells Frankie to grab the helm, and he has to jump in to save him, because obviously he does. He's the fisherman. Who else would? So he jumps in, and then you see a new attachment come out of the Sunny. Or maybe it's not new. I can't remember what attachments or things have come out of the Sunny because there's so much with it. But it's called the Rabbit Screw Propeller. And I don't know. I like the little bunny ears on it. I think it's a nice touch. But from there, we see the shark underwater. And he's aiming a torpedo, a missile. I don't know what it's called. It's one of the two. But the explosive power on it is insane. It lifts the Sunny up out of the water, throws the whole crew out of the Sunny, and it capsizes the Sunny. Even the Straw Hats themselves, Sanji, says that the ship is capsizing. I'm going to kind of detour real quick because I think it's important that the first panel you see after that is just a panel of the Sunny itself. And maybe this isn't a big thing, but especially after the last chapter where Luffy was telling his dream to the crew and you got the whole crew's reaction, the first panel after that was just a panel of the Sunny, and it was like explanation points, and like it was probably like how Oda does, where it's like the drawn back reaction of like, huh, what? But like, we've seen in the past that if a ship is loved, like the Sunny is, it's gonna be a crew member. You're gonna have a Clabotterman. So I'm just thinking this could be foreshadowing. It might not be, but especially after that last chapter, I don't know. I'm on that hype train. That could just be my little headcanon right there. So we get back to Jinbei in the water, and he actually like grabs on and saves all the Devil Fruit trio this time. And he comes back above the water and just sees this shark open his mouth with a giant cannon pointed right at him. And he freaks out, tells everyone to hold their breath. And I think it's a funny little paneling right there. They all like kind of suck in real quick because they're half conscious, and Jinbei dives deep. And it's another big explosion like the one we just saw. I don't know if in that explosion the shark lost track or if he just thought that explosion got him, but he sees the Sunny capsized and sinking then with all the Straw Hats like falling out below and starts going towards that. But that's when you see the Vega Force 12, you could clearly see on the armor, come out and spooks the shark. He looks at the shark looks there, and he sends a massive punch on the shark with, it looks like an explosion. Like, it could just be that's how hard the punch was, but that almost looks like smoke behind it. And I mean, I guess, I'm not going to get into who this is, but it makes sense. We'll talk about it later. You see the Straw Hats falling more and more into the water, and then we cut away. The narrator says we're at a nearby island, G14 Naval Base, and you see Tashigi and all the kids from Punk Hazard, which is cool. They're good to be back in the story. It makes sense they were going to get help by Vegapunk, that they'd be popping up now. Then we get introduced to some new characters, a Vice Admiral named Dahl, and a commander named Hibari. I'm probably saying that wrong, but she's a member of SWORD, as is a Rear Admiral named Prince Groose. My first thing that I'm going to say about this is a naval base, and I guess they do have a Vice Admiral, but like they only have one Vice Admiral. And I feel like that's weird to have there. I'm also questioning if this is like a marine base, like not like strictly for sword, because the whole thing is like sword is secret, so like it couldn't just be like a dedicated like sword marine base, but like if this is kind of like sword headquarters, if you're a member of sword, like you try to get to like Navy base G14. After the kids talk with Tashigi, they get their little recap of they're starting to shrink because whatever Vegapunk's doing to them is working. We see Doll talking about Helmeppo and how he's crying about Kobe, and Helmeppo and Hibari want to go to Hachinosu to save Kobe, and Prince is like, well, that's Blackbeard's territory. Like that's business we don't want to get into. And that makes me question, like, how strong can these guys even be? Like, is Helmeppo just stupid for wanting to rush into Blackbeard's territory? Does like he really think they have a chance? I feel like you never know with the Navy, especially because you see in the next panel that he's even like crying, tears streaming down his face. He says, "Why can't we deploy a Seraphim? Egghead's so close." And that actually is something interesting that I'm going to talk about a little bit later, considering what we're going to see. I think that's Prince a little bit more zoomed in, just tells everyone to calm down. They still can't get a hold of Drake, which also makes me question how high Drake is in the sword rankings if they can't get a hold of him and they want to for their plan. I mean, I guess it would suck to lose a member no matter what, but he was someone that was going undercover. Maybe he's of a little bit more importance than like Kobe or Helmeppo, which wouldn't really surprise me. So after we come back from G14, we come back to the island, which still hasn't been named yet. And Bonnie and Luffy are having a conversation as everyone's drying off. Bonnie is surprised that Luffy doesn't remember who we are, but she mentions that they were both on Sabaody and they were both part of the worst generation. Luffy calls her Boogie after Bonnie says her name. And I love the panel of Luffy just waving his pants in the air, like naked, I'm presuming, because Bonnie doesn't have her shirt on. She's kind of turned around to give that little bit of fan service that Oda loves. And she asks, "Are you seriously an emperor?" As Luffy's just waving his pants in the wind, having the time of his life. I love this next panel. There's so much information. It's drawn so well. I love Jinbei in it. I love Chopper just walking his Amigasa hat. I love how Luffy looks in his like pseudo Gear 5th form, as we'll get to. Biggest smile ever on his face. I just love Luffy so much. But Bonnie asks what the deal is with Luffy's wanted poster because he has white hair now. They said they made quite a stir about it in the papers, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, because Morgan said that he wasn't going to let the world government influence the story. The story was just too big in news. Like, that's the last time we saw Morgan's. So there's a couple possibilities. He was talking about Luffy and Kaido and the raid, or he was talking about the story at the Reverie, or he was just talking about everything. If he was talking about the story at the Reverie, then I guess that doesn't really matter. But if he was talking about the story of Luffy and Kaido, it would make sense that he's writing about it, but then how much does he know about Nika? Because he specifically mentioned like the white hair and he made a big stir about it. Obviously the bounty poster had the white hair, but how much more did he say in the paper if he was saying what he wanted to say and everything he knew about it? Coming back to the chapter though, Luffy says, "Oh, that's just how I look when I'm totally free." And he's doing like almost the Gear 5th pose. Oda draws him with a huge smile. His hair is kind of spiky. And Bonnie just asks, "What's that supposed to mean? Anyway, aren't you worried about the rest of your crew?" And Luffy just says, "They'll figure it out." She. Still laughing because he's like in his Gear 5th form. I say in air quotes. And Bonnie says, "I can't believe you got the first son of the sea, too." Jinbei asks what happened to her crew, and Bonnie said she came here alone, which is kind of surprising to me. And I guess it answers how she got here from when we last saw her at the Reverie, but it really doesn't. I mean, the Reverie was like a month ago, so she could have gotten this far into the new world, but she did that without her crew, like alone. I don't know if I'm buying that right now, especially after everything that just happened at the Reverie. She might have escaped with Sabo and the Revolutionaries. She might know more than she's letting on right now. But anyways, back to the chapter. Luffy says, let's go find a restaurant, and they're just kind of clowning around him and Chopper. And Bonnie is like, look, like, this is a government island. Like, you guys don't know where you're at, do you? And she reveals that the same island that Helmeppo was talking about, Egghead Island, is where the Straw Hats are. And it's time, man. Vegapunk is in the story. She says Dr. Vegapunk's research lab is here. Luffy finally realizes something. He says, Vegapunk, I know that name because of everything that happened at Punk Hazard and Caesar. And Bonnie says, Vegapunk is the reason I'm here. We've got business. Obviously, she's talking about Kuma, but what is she going to do? I mean, obviously, she's mad, but I just don't know. We'll kind of talk about it more at the end because I just don't know if Vegapunk's going to be a villain. I don't know how strong Vegapunk is, but we'll get to that later. We cut away from Luffy and Bonnie for the time being, though, and we see the rest of the Straw Hats get picked up, and I'm going to call it the Iron Giant. And with the Sunny, he's just kind of cupping it in his hands. Again, the robot is so much bigger than the Sunny. Honestly, I said that the Shark was 5 to 6 times bigger than the Sunny. This robot's actually probably 4 to 5 times bigger than the Sunny, and the Shark's probably 10 times bigger than the Sunny, if not more than that. But regardless, the robot is gigantic. Frankie loves it because he's like a giant robot. That's his whole thing. Usopp's reaction is what it always is to like cool boy shit. Zoro's like, I'm gonna cut it like I'm ready. And they show Caribou for some reason, who I can't tell if he's seeing this through his barrel or if he's out somehow. You see Vegapunk start to come out of the giant robot's like stomach, almost like how Moira did out of the original, maybe not I think it was Oars Jr. I can't remember. Whatever Oars was in Punk Hazard. Hi, this is Post Me. I just realized that Past Me was totally an idiot. And I definitely meant to say the oars that was at Thriller Bark. I can't believe I forgot that because I'm actually rewatching One Piece and I'm currently on the Thriller Bark arc. So don't know how I got that mixed up with Punk Hazard, but yeah, enjoy the rest. Frankie say thank you for saving us, and Vegapunk doesn't even like really register what he says, just goes on with, I'm gonna say his still, even though this is very clearly a girl. I think Vegapunk's a man. We'll get to that in the next panel, though. Vegapunk says, I ordered the mechanical shark to scout, report, and fire her, but it keeps trying to eat ships. There won't be anything left to salvage. Then says, forgive me, but did you just say I saved you? Oh, you naive pirates. I work for the government. Despite my mediocrity, they call me their scientific genius. So, a lot's going to happen here. Obviously, Vegapunk isn't a friend, but I don't know if Vegapunk is necessarily an enemy. Something that I guess I could talk about now is like when you see Vegapunk coming out of the Iron Giant, over her left boob, it says Punk 02, and as well on the Iron Giant, it says Vega Force 12, and the Shark as well, what does it say? I think it just says Vegapunk. I don't know. I'm scrolling up in the chapter, so give me a second. Yeah, it just says Vegapunk. It doesn't have any numbers. I could be wrong, but I don't think it had any numbers. Anyway, over her left breast it says Vegapunk 02, which leads me to believe that obviously this isn't the original Vegapunk. So it could be a robot, it could be a cyborg, or it could be something else. I don't know what it is, but it's for sure not the real Vegapunk. I think that Luffy's group, however they get to doing what they do, is eventually going to run into Vegapunk. Like, Bonnie is definitely, at some point in this arc, going to tell them about what happened at Reverie. But that might be like kind of in the aftermath thing. I don't know how long this arc is going to be. This could be just like a shorter arc, but there's going to be a lot of information because Vegapunk knows a lot about everything. He's connected to the Pacifistas, the Seraphims, Devil Fruits. So I really don't know how long this chapter is going to be, and I don't know if Vegapunk can be like a true like villain, because even like Caesar, like, yeah, he was a villain, but like in the grand scheme of things, like he wasn't all that strong. Like he relied on like poison pretty much, and I guess like that was his devil fruit. Like he has control of every kind of gas, even poisonous gas. But he was using his, I think it was called like Shirokuni, but Smiley, whatever it was called, um, to do most of his work. It was more like he was, I don't want to say playing in the background, but yeah, I just don't know what to expect with Vegapunk, but I'm excited to see it. Um, I think that's gonna be it for the review. I'm gonna probably cut around a little bit there at the end. I think I kind of got distracted. Didn't really know what to talk about as much in the beginning. I think I should have made a little bit stronger of a script. I guess if you're still here listening, I'll give you a little bit of info. This was my first video. I tried to one take it as much as possible. There's probably going to be some weird cuts in there still. In fact, I know there is because I don't really know what to talk about. But I'm really excited about this arc. I'm going to try to do this for every chapter, or maybe every chapter that something really big happens, because this is the first arc that I'm caught up to One Piece, like as everything is happening. I was, watching the anime, and then I got to the anime like a couple episodes after they were in Wano, and was like anime only for a while. Like didn't want to read the manga. Well, like I was reading the manga, but I was like reading in the background, just like kind of whenever. I was in Whole Cake Island like a couple chapters before the wedding started, right around the time 10:45 and Gear 5th came out, and I was on TikTok and I got spoiled about Gear 5. So I was like, oh, well, I'm going to start reading the manga so I don't get spoiled on anything. And here we are, like, I think it's like 3 or 4 months later, and I'm caught up. I'm going to the new island with the Straw Hats. This is the closest I've ever felt connected to the story, because, I'm actually experiencing a new island with the Straw Hats for the first time. So I really can't wait to see what happens. I can't wait to learn the history of Devil Fruits. I can't wait to see more of Luffy and Bonnie's interaction. I can't wait to see how Frankie reacts with Vegapunk. One thing I didn't really talk about in this, that if I think about it more and want to make a separate video on, I don't know if I'm going to make videos on just like, I don't want to call them theories, but just kind of expanded reviews of a specific thing in the chapter, like paneling. But if I do that, the first one I'm going to do is like the big egg on Egghead Island. I think that's going to be really interesting, and like if Vegapunk does end up being like a villain, I think that big egg is going to be tied to a lot of it. So I'm really excited to see what happens. I hope you guys come back and experience this with me. Thank you if you did watch this video, and I hope to see you next time.